Hello, Star Wars fans. And they're just 193 days until Christmas 2021. And today there's a lot to talk about. And I'm really excited. We've got a guest on today to help us talk about some of these topics. And I want to I'll go ahead and introduce Star Wars Real Talk. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really pumped to be here.
Oh, this is great. And I'm really excited because some of the news today ties into video games. And as many folks who follow me know, I don't play video games. I have to keep myself from that. But you do.
I do a lot.
It's fantastic. And I'm so thankful you've agreed to kind of be my guest expert on the topic. So today, one of the tie-ins, and we kind of discovered it last week with Coop, and is that one of the writers in Jedi Fallen Order is also a writer in the Bad Batch. And his name is, let me pull it up here real quick because I'll get it wrong, Matt Michnovetz. Matt Michnovetz was a writer, one of the writers for Jedi Fallen Order. And he is a writer of 7 episodes of The Bad Batch, and he's an editor for 7 episodes of The Bad Batch. And I think it's obvious from the last episode of The Bad Batch that he had an influence. So I wanted to introduce that first of all and get your first take on that.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting find. I don't know if I would have ever put that together. I think it's really exciting because it opens a lot of doors, I guess, if we can make those connections, and makes us wonder and theorize as to what's going to happen. I'm excited.
It is. So of course the speculation goes to, might we see Cal Kestis in this next episode? It appears that from the trailer footage that we have, there's still some remaining footage from Braca that hasn't aired yet. Mm-hmm. So do you think that we might see him or no?
I'm really excited to see Cal in whether it's animated, live action, whatever. Like, he's my most anticipated Jedi to see. But when they introduced Braca, I was like really excited. I'm like, I know that name. And then we got to the Junkyard planet. I'm like, I know that planet. And then I got excited and I'm like, are we going to see Cal? Are we going to see Cal? And then I remembered that when Order 66 happened, he was about the same age as Kanan was, Caleb. So at that point, we just don't know how old Cal was when he went to Braca and started working there, disassembling ships and stuff like that, because he would have only been a kid at this point.
Yeah, he would have been a kid. And I want to think that, and I saw some folks in the comments even say it's possible, but probably improbable, right? He's too young, but he's there, right?
Yeah, and I'm not really sure. Like he took that escape pod from the ship that he was training on with his master. His master sent him off in the pod, and I'm not sure where that pod ended up. I'm sure that information's out there somewhere, but maybe that pod sent him straight to Braca. If someone in the chat knows, you should drop that.
Exactly. So I think it would be awesome if we did see him. And many folks know I put out a weekly. We've been doing this the last few weeks. I put out a weekly predictions for the Bad Batch episode 8. There are 20 questions in there, and the 19 of them are yes/no questions. The last one is open-ended. You can put anything in there you want. One of the questions this week is, we'll see Cal Kestis. You can say yes or no. So it's in the comments. There's a link to it in the comments, as well as there's a link in the description of the video and on our Discord server as well. And I'll post it to your Discord server as well. We're in there. So if you guys want to play along, it's just a fun game to play. And Matt's Lego Film says he does think they go to Braca on the escape pod.
Yeah, I just pulled it up on Wikipedia. So the information that I have here is, after his master's death, Kestis lived in exile on the planet Braca. working as a rigger for the Scrapper Guild until he was discovered by the Nine Sisters, which we see in the game. So maybe there's more information in there that the Bad Batch is going to give us. Who knows how early Cal ended up there?
It's super exciting. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And of course, our video game sweaties would just lose their minds. It'd be great.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be a lot of fun. I want to go on. There's another video game kind of news coming out, and it's that the Lego Star Wars game may be delayed again. There's not a lot of news on this. I saw Star Wars Meg talk about it this morning, and I went and Googled it, but I didn't see anything. Have you heard anything?
I haven't heard anything other than the fact that this game continues to be delayed. I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, it was announced in 2019 for a 2020 release. I went and did some homework. So it was a 2020 release, and of course, with the pandemic, that got delayed. And now we're looking at they were talking a 2021 release, but the article I read this morning seemed pessimistic that would even happen.
It's really surprising that would happen with a Lego game. Like, this isn't their first Lego game. Like, they've made tons of Lego games. You know, they would have like the models and everything down, unless they're totally rebuilding the engine from the inside out. I don't know.
Well, yeah, the Lego. So one of the last video games that I owned that I played before I got rid of everything was the Lego Star Wars, and it was just the first 6 episodes you could play through. Of course, they're adding 3 more. But so I agree with you. Like, how much rewrite can there be in adding 3 more? Right.
Yeah.
And I could see them putting some extra characters in, like Din Djarin and Grogu and things like that, just as little Easter eggs or extra characters. But you wouldn't think that would be a difficult thing to do either, right?
Yeah. No, I don't know what. Maybe they, with all these new shows coming, maybe they're waiting and holding off. Maybe they're just adding new content. But even with the pandemic, that's surprising that it would delay them, because a lot of these people could take their rigs home and just work from home or something, you know?
Right. And I work for a company that's out of Montreal, Canada, and there's a lot of video game manufacturers up there, right? or makers. And of course, I don't live in Montreal. I work remotely, and it's not uncommon at all for programmers. That's what I'm a programmer, not a video game programmer. I'm a database programmer, but I do that remotely. And I would think that the same thing, these folks should be able to code from home. Yeah,
exactly.
So, yeah, and I saw Strike 721. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for visiting. So can't be happy about the delay, but nobody wants an unfinished game. And I think that's fair.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
That's fair. All right, so there's a whole bunch of other news, and this will be, well, Andre's not. You're not wrong, right? It's not that linear. There's a chance of things leaking. If you're not controlling it being in-house, and people work from home, they could screenshot stuff, they could leak it out, things like that.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So depending on that could be the case. There's a bunch of other news, and we'll just kind of talk about this together. I think that I saw even Star Wars Explained said that there was enough to do today that he wanted to cover this. So Andor, there's been some updates about Andor. One is Forrest Whitaker. Forrest Whitaker is rumored to be in it. They talked about it. Some of the rumors out there. And this is just as a reminder for folks, Andor takes place several years before Rogue One, and even before K2SO is in the game, right? And you guys let me know. I keep seeing myself glitch. I don't know if I'm glitchy, if I've got a bandwidth issue today or what, but it's acting up on me. So if you guys can hear me fine, everything's going well, that's great. We'll just keep driving on. So this happens before K2SO, and we could get Forrest Whitaker involved. Is this a no-brainer? Like, yeah, you would think that Okay, yeah, I'm glitching. Okay, yeah, and I know Saul Guerrero is a very popular character, right? He's been in almost every series that there is, right? So he was in the Clone Wars, he was in Rebels, he was in Bad Batch already, he was in Rogue One, obviously, and to me, it's just a no-brainer that he would be in this, but it's good news to hear that he is.
Yeah, he adds a level of familiarity to whatever show he's in. You know, it's almost like he's like a good anchor point. Like you're like, okay, the rebellion's here, something like that. But he's a familiar face, and in Andor, when you're launching a new Star Wars show, I mean, you're gonna want some familiar faces. Just brings the fans in.
Yeah, and Forrest Whitaker is a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
And Moff Gideon points out he's in Jedi Fallen Order too.
Yes, he is.
So I love that we're getting to know more of his character, and just my own personal take on him in Rogue One was underutilized. I don't think Forrest Whitaker's character, it was like, okay, here's Saul Guerrero. Never heard of him, never seen him. Like if you weren't really deep into some of the lore, you just got this grumpy guy in there who's a bit weird.
Yeah.
I would love to see his character develop more. You get it really raises, I think, the expectations for the Andor series, because people were saying, well, what's it going to cover? Everybody's dead, right, at the end of Rogue One. But I think it adds for some character development. And from what I've heard, the theme of the show is a bit of spy adventure.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, they wouldn't really have that much of a fighting force yet.
Yeah,
full assaults or anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if you've got a spy adventure with Forrest Whitaker in it, who wouldn't watch that?
Yeah.
I think it's got a chance to develop Saul Guerrero's character more, bring more fans into the franchise, just people who enjoy seeing Forrest act. He's done some fantastic stuff. And it could be really, really great for the franchise. And as Mark says, where Saul is, Two Tubes is. Black Series figures. So if you don't know, Mark is a toy collector, figures, and we got a couple of them in here in the chat that I've seen. So it's a chance for them to do another repaint and another reissue in the box that says Andor on it. I think that's exciting. And the other news that came out regarding that was that we get Orson Krennic. Orson Krennic, the actor, is rumored to be associated with it. So we've got our villain, we've got our bad guy, we've got Saul Guerrero. I don't know. To me, it seems like the hype for this show should be building. All we need now is a release date.
If these people are going to be in the show, they should really be like promoting that, putting them on the face of it, because like honestly, like I didn't really know what to expect with Andor, and like now that I know Saw's in it, Krennic's potentially in it, like that's exciting stuff. Like Krennic was a fantastic Star Wars villain, like just amazing, and the connections that he has to the Empire, that's just. Anytime we get anywhere near the Empire, there's always that thought, like, is Vader going to be there? Is Vader going to be there? Like you never know.
That's I'm glad you brought that up. They've set it up that you've got Krennic in here, you've got Saul Guerrero in here, you've got, of course, Cassian Andor and all the cast, but Vader. Might we get a Vader reveal, sort of like a Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker in Mando 2. How cool would it be to get a Vader in Andor?
Yeah, man, it's been a long time since we've had Vader like get an actual more than just like a couple minutes. It seems like they're really cautious where they sprinkle him here and there, and it builds like a ton of hype and everything that he's in. But yeah, this goes into another subject. I'm not gonna derail this, but really hoping that we see more of that in Kenobi. Just more just solid Vader scenes.
Yeah, and we'll get to Kenobi. There's a Kenobi update coming. That's our next topic. So before we jump off of this, we know that they've got Hayden Christensen doing some Vader work for Kenobi. And if they're doing Kenobi shoots now, which they are, and we'll talk about that in just 1 second. If they're doing Kenobi shoots now, how hard would it be in the volume to switch out and put an Andor scene in there and shoot that scene in the volume and nobody even know?
If they have Hayden, could you imagine if they just sprinkled a little bit of Hayden into Andor?
Exactly.
No one would see it coming.
And you got to think Rogue One is where they introduced hallway scenes, right? How awesome would it be? And not to get another hallway scene necessarily, but you get Vader in there would be great.
Yeah,
great. And I keep closing apps on my computer as we go, so that maybe the bandwidth issue will get resolved and the glitchiness for me. And I've seen. Thanks for the feedback, everybody. The sound seems to be fine. We're just getting a little glitchy on the video. So we brought up, when you kind of touched base on it already, the Obi Wan Kenobi updates. And so I want to share. A lot of people have seen the stills, but there's a nice little video here that these stills were taken from that's worth watching. And so there's a couple of points that I saw brought up, and Star Wars Explained talked about it. Molly brought it up. His hair. So obviously everybody's paying attention to his robes underneath that cover he's got on, but his hair is an indicator too of a bit of a time frame. We know that it's about 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, and so let me just play this, and I'll let it loop through a couple of times. There's a couple of things to talk about here as it goes. So you can see him going across. He's trying to cover the robes as much as possible. You see the boots sticking out the bottom there, but then a stormtrooper. Right, so
Stormtrooper a little less subtle.
Yeah, a little less subtle.
Yep,
I'm a stormtrooper, just chilling, walking across the stage. So that's some pretty cool stuff. And of course, there's the stills that were captured that are a little better quality, and you can see. Well, here he's just wearing a jacket, so it's a different time, and you can see the robe sticking out underneath. And the boots there, and then this is from that video. So there's some nice stills in there that people can pick out. Like the robes are slightly different. The robes are slightly darker. His hair is different.
Instagram doesn't. Oh, there it is. Yeah, the brown boots are a dead giveaway for me.
The
Tatooine boots.
Yeah. Tatooine boots. You think about Obi-Wan, and even in the last release they did for Hasbro, kind of the throwback ones. The boots are typically taller and the pants tucked in. Here you've got the pants over the boots, so it's more of a. And somebody said, "Can you show the Stormtrooper again?" Sure. I'll pause it when we get there.
What is he? He looks like he's holding something under his arm almost.
Yeah. So Stormtrooper carrying a Walkman or this Santa's old an MP3 player or his phone. And listen to some music.
Wonder what he's listening to. Imperial March.
And we'll let that go. So there you can see. I don't know if you guys are trying to pick out something of the armor or what, but maybe it's a clone.
It's possible, yeah.
Well, Ewan McGregor was on Jimmy Kimmel, right? And talking, and he looked around and realized it's the first time he's in a room with stormtroopers. And it was a bit of a moment for him. And he even asked, I think, Filoni, is this the first time I've seen a stormtrooper? Like, I need to know how. Like, this is new, right? And he even mentioned how in the shooting of the prequels, the clones weren't people; they were green screen.
Yeah.
So, and he was talking a bit of that in that actors on actors bit where he did the acting in front of a green screen. Here they're using more practical effects. You've got actual stormtroopers. He's in the room with a stormtrooper. I suppose it could be a clone, but I don't think so. It's 10 years after Return of the Jedi. And so it's after Bad Batch. We've already seen in Bad Batch where they're trying to transition from clones to stormtroopers. So in my mind, this is probably after that.
I think so too.
Yeah. So so we've got stormtroopers there, and then I got one out of order. Daggone it. So this is out of order. I'll take the little thing at the bottom off there. There was a lot of talk early about this actress.
And it just looks so goofy.
Yeah, right. The mix of you got a Porsche in the back.
Porsche. Like a juice box or something.
Yeah, she's drinking like a Perrier, I think. But so you've got all of this right there. Yeah. Him walking across.
Imperial officer on her break.
Yeah. What do Imperial officers? There's a commercial in the making right there, right? What do Imperial officers drink when they're off the bridge?
Yeah.
They have whatever, sparkling water. It's good stuff. There's a Porsche commercial right here. There's a sparkling water commercial. It's
paid promotion. Yeah.
Should be, maybe it's a clone. It could be a flashback. I suppose so. That's talk about the stormtrooper before, but no, there was a lot of questions about if she was going to be one of the Night Sisters, if she was going to be another Jedi in Obi Wan. So what was her role going to be? And this is where we were talking in the chat before, is that and this is still Obi Wan stuff. So. Did the Empire have a presence at Tatooine? And there were the scenes in A New Hope that were cut where Luke's looking through the binocs and watching a space battle, and somebody pointed out that it was in the audio series as well, that scene was in there. So. Mark Hamilton was wondering if it's possible she's playing like a governor of Tatooine.
Well, the reason that they went to Tatooine was because that's where they tracked the droid, right? The droids.
Right. Well, I mean, that's where they tracked the Tantive 4, right? And the Tantive through hyperspace, and they had that battle, and then of course all of the escape pods ejected.
Right. Yes.
And they shot all of them down except C-3PO and R2-D2. That's handy. And then they went down to the planet, of course. So if Obi-Wan is going to take place largely on Tatooine, you would presume that that's probably the case. That it would be interesting if she's going to be a recurring character as a governor. And Obi-Wan's having to kind of protect a young Luke Skywalker from being discovered. And that leads us to one more little bit here. Might this young guy be playing a young Luke Skywalker? And then, so this came, I think, off of a Reddit bit. That this, and I don't know if you guys have watched Sweet Tooth on Netflix. That's what this is. It's a bit of a post-apocalypse kind of deal. There's been a global pandemic, killed tons of people, and then you end up with these folks who are hybrids. They're And then you see the no hybrid sign in the background. These hybrids are part animal, part person. And of course, this guy is the Sweet Tooth. He's the main character in the series. And this kid, and yeah, it comes from a DC comic. Darth Elvis, thanks for contributing. Yeah, so it comes from a DC comic. It's an adaptation, and this kid plays there. Well, somebody said that he was spotted on the set for Obi Wan, which led to speculation that could he be a young Luke Skywalker. Now, this is complete rumor, complete speculation. It comes off of Reddit, so has no validity whatsoever. But when we're talking about news and speculations and rumors, and I want to just make that really clear, like this, I'm not leaking anything. This is completely rumor that this kid could actually be playing a young Luke. He's the right age. He's blonde. Yeah. And if you watch the show, I think he did a fairly Sheev stepped out for 5 minutes. We're talking about Sweet Tooth. We're talking about is this kid playing young Luke Skywalker. There was a rumor that he was seen on the set of Obi Wan. And we're talking about the Kenobi series. So might he be Luke? Luke's supposed to be about 10, right? It's 10 years after Return of the Jedi. Not Return of the Jedi. Revenge of the Sith. Sith. Of course, Luke and Leia were born right at the end, so he would be 10 years old.
That's right.
Presumably, Obi-Wan is watching over him from a distance, and I think he could absolutely be playing young Luke. I wouldn't say that the kid was, an A-tier actor by any means. Have you watched Sweet Tooth?
It's in my watch list now. I kind of wish I had, so I could have been more prepared with an opinion.
That's okay. Hey, we just kind of did this collab last minute, but
yeah.
Look, I appreciate you being here. But the kid I thought did a fine job, but he's not the best actor in the world. He's no Millie Bobby Brown. Let's put it that way, right? She is fantastic, and she did a great job in the Netflix series. Why is it? I'm drawing a blank. The Upside Down and all of that. Phooey. You guys put it in the chat. But Millie Bobby Brown is a phenomenal actress, and she's really coming up on her own. This kid is in a major feature here for Netflix. It's a DC adaptation. So I think he could. Stranger Things. That's it. Thanks. I had brain lock. Yeah, Stranger Things. Millie Bobby Brown really got noted for Stranger Things. That's where she became famous from. And this could absolutely be this kid's opening. And if he gets to play a young Luke in a Kenobi series, the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah. So that's setting him up for sure.
It's very, very exciting. We could look forward to a scene of a 10-year-old sent to school shrink for killing wombats. Jimmy. But we could see him getting into trouble in the skirmishes, different things like that. And I think we've been kind of expecting that eventually we would hear a leak or a rumor of a casting for a young Luke. And potentially, and it's a little further out, but potentially a casting for a young Leia.
Didn't they post the full cast for the show?
They have, but it won't stop people from speculating.
And maybe they're holding back. Like a child actor would be pretty. Like
it would be big.
It would be big. Yeah, it would be a dead giveaway if there was like all these adults and then just one kid that like kind of looks like Luke Skywalker.
Exactly, and I would think that if Obi-Wan meets up with Bail Organa, right? So Bail and Luke, or Bail and Obi-Wan took a kid each, and if they did that. And he's watching over Luke. If Obi-Wan meets with Bail, you could absolutely see a young Leia playing off to the side or doing something. So it's our first real like rumor of a young Luke Skywalker, and I thought it was worth at least throwing out there because it's also very pertinent because Sweet Tooth is out right now.
Sure. Yeah, I think that whether or not he is acting in the show, it does open up a lot of ideas to, like, everyone's thinking that Kenobi is just going to be Ewan and Hayden or just Obi-Wan and Vader, but this kind of opens it up a little bit. Like, it's just a refresher. Like, hey, Luke is also on Tatooine. You know, he could be just as big a part of the show as Vader's going to be. Absolutely.
And I think that with that in mind, it could also be we need to bring up is, are we going to get a call back from Force Ghost? Oh, that's what I get for changing my topic. Qui-Gon Jinn, right? And but there's been Dale. No, I'm not saying Millie Bobby's Leia. No, Millie Bobby's too
old now.
Leia, but it would have to be somebody set against a 10-year-old. But I would love to see it. But no, I don't think we're going to get Qui-Gon. They were talking recently to here, my brain. I'm sorry. The actor plays Qui-Gon.
Is it? Why am I blanking on this too? It's contagious. I want to say Liam Neeson, but I feel
Liam Neeson. That's it. Yeah. So they were interviewing Liam Neeson. He said that he's not done it. Of course, liars are actors. Actors are liars. So, and it doesn't mean he would have to be on set. He could absolutely be right that he's not gone to set. He hasn't filmed anything. That could all be truth because they just need him to do some voiceover work in post-production. Or they could use recorded stuff that he's already put down for the prequels. Or they could get another voice actor to do Qui-Gon. There's a lot of potential there. And there's been a lot of speculation of callback scenes. And as you mentioned, we know that Hayden and Ewan are going to do scenes together. There's a lot of excitement about that and what the potential is for that. There's also a bit of fear, like if they have this epic duel, then what's that do to the continuity? But a young Luke Skywalker, I think, would be fantastic.
I agree.
So another topic I want to kind of bounce back to. So we wanted to cover the video games first and then kind of work our way through the topics. Book of Boba Fett updates. So with the Book of Boba Fett, another, I think, no-brainer is that people have said there's rumors Bossk is going to be in it. Like, well,
I've heard that too.
While it's exciting, to me, it's almost a non-news story. And water is wet, you know?
Yeah. I hear you. Seems like kind of a given almost.
It really does. But it's a nice confirmation. Again, I think it's always good to hear. Yes, please strike 721. Yeah. So Bossk, absolutely, and which raises the question: might we get other of his peeps? Right? Could we get could we get Dringer? Right?
Yeah.
Dengar. Could we get one of our favorites here? Could you end up with any of the other bounty hunters that he ran with? And I think so. Yeah. And the other rumor is, and this is the big one. So our friend X-Wing, he's a friend of the channel. He's a friend that we have. He did a video last week, and they talked about in the Book of Boba Fett. They were doing somebody did an interview with Ming-Na Wen, and Ming-Na was talking about different actors she got to play with and how she was a Disney princess, she was a Marvel hero, and she's a Star Wars bounty hunter. And talking about that trifecta.
Yeah,
and they
good
were
portfolio.
a really good portfolio. And so she was talking about other actors that had a similar kind of spread there. And of course, it come around to Mace Windu, right? So in the context of what she said, and you can go find it on X-Wing's channel. You guys go check out X-Wing's video. He kind of talked about, did she oops, right? Did she oops and say something about him being on set, meeting him in person, and which set was she talking about? Was she talking about Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or was she talking about Book of Boba Fett? And if she's talking Book of Boba Fett, then there's a big oops that if we're going to get, and there's been a lot of speculation, and of course he's wanted to come back as Mace Windu, then are we going to get Mace Windu in Book of Boba Fett?
Yeah. Did she specifically say Samuel L. Jackson?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was just Jedi or Samuel L. Jackson. Okay.
No, she mentioned meeting Sam on set, like when she saw him on set, and then you're like, wait, what set? And it did appear that she was like, oops, I shouldn't have said that. And then that interview was actually unlisted from YouTube. So that's led to some conspiracy theorists. And I think it's fair to say where there's enough smoke, there could be fire.
Yeah. I mean, if they wanted people to speculate, like when they take it down, it almost confirms it. You know, if they want to like leave it up in the air, they should just leave the interview out and just let people, like, it just builds hype, if anything. You know, now they just look guilty or whatever. It's just leave it up.
Just leave it up. Yeah. And for Coachella, he said, yeah, she says when he came as Nick Fury. Like, I also don't think that she was talking about seeing on the set of Book of Boba Fett, but it is a little open-ended. And what happened, it's not spelled out clearly. And it does look like all of a sudden she shut herself off. And then when that video gets unlisted, then, as you just said, right, if there wasn't a conspiracy theory, there is now.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Every time a new Star Wars show comes out, everyone's like, could Mace Windu be in this one? Could Mace Windu? We're just waiting for it at some point. We're just clawing at anything.
Exactly. which brings up another topic, Bad Batch. So KRT, Kessel Run Transmissions, they said before the series started on the Bad Batch that we were going to see Grogu in the Bad Batch. Yeah. Grogu was going to be saved by a well-known Jedi, which, to exactly what you just said, well, Mace Windu.
Of course, it has to be Mace Windu.
Any new series and a rumor of a well-known Jedi is always going to be Mace Windu, always, until it happens. And there's no doubt in my mind. You know, Samuel L. Jackson's wanted to bring Mace Windu back for a very long time, and nobody's confirmed his death. So I think it's absolutely going to happen. But will he show up in the Book of Boba Fett first, or will he? And a lot of people have made the argument: look, Samuel L. Jackson's too iconic, Mace Windu's too iconic to have him come back first in animation. And other people, well, animation can set up live action. So
it's true.
It's one of these cases. Will he show up in the Book of Boba Fett? Did Ming-Na Wen mess up? Will he show up in the Bad Batch? And Kessel Run Transmissions taking a big hit. Some of their leaks and rumors um, are not panning out. And in at least one case, it's epically wrong. And that's with the Mando season 3 shooting. They've come back and they've hardened their stance on it, and they've said more and more. But in recent interviews and recent information, the Mando season 3 has not started. I was on the Kessel Run train, and I've been talking about, look, Kessel Run or Mando 3 has likely already started, but it appears that that's probably not the case. I'm not going to rule it out that they haven't done some, because in the volume they could do anything. They could set up a scene for Mando, and in the afternoon Kenobi, and in the evening do an Andor. Like, it's easy to switch those sets. So I'm not going to rule out that Mando 3 hasn't already shot some, but it seems that they're very wrong in that. They need some wins. Kessel Run needs some wins, and they've said that Grogu's going to show up in the Book of Boba, or in the Bad Batch, and that he's going to be rescued by a well-known Jedi, which leads us to Mace Windu. So, what would you say? Do you think likely or unlikely, or what? What's your thought?
Yeah, I think I'm with you. If this was your opinion that he's too big, I think he's just too big to show up at any point in Bad Batch. For him rescuing Grogu, like Order 66 has happened. Like, it's already, like, we're dealing with the aftermath right now. So if we were going to see Mace Windu, it would have been like pilot episode or second episode, I think.
Yeah, he could have shown up there at the end of Mando 2 even.
Unless we see him at some point later, like he's already rescued Grogu. They're hiding out somewhere in a bar. He's got his hood up. Grogu's got a little Grogu hood up.
Yeah. So that's a good question, and I want to highlight this. Dale brought something up. Yeah, Landon, my video is glitching. It's glitching really bad, but hopefully my audio isn't.
You sound good, yeah.
Okay, good. So Dale did a little math for us. I'm doing a Max Headroom impression this morning. So if you guys haven't caught that, if you know what that is, then you're old like me. But anyway, Dale did some math and figured out the tab charged to Sid's tab. There were 20 credits charged to Sid's tab. If that's the case, 2 people divided into 20 means there were 10 missions in the time jump.
That's an interesting point.
So it could have been more than just a couple of days. It could have been a couple of weeks, right? Depending how big these missions are. Some could have been quite small. But if there were 10 missions, up to 10, it's, again, assuming what he put, it's 14 credits for 2 cartons of Mantel mix. It depends how all that works out, but it could be 10. Yeah, it could have been a couple months. So, but I thought that was really good, Dale, and appreciate you sharing that. And I saw it in my comments on the video, and I wanted to highlight it here. Dale, Max Headroom was cool when I was, 14, 16 years old? Yeah. Again, you guys probably don't have any idea who that is.
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
He was a glitchy computer head that talked, and anyway, on a TV show. But so the Bad Batch, there was a video Star Wars Meg put out and said, why was Omega not chipped? It leads to all kinds of speculation. I don't know if you've seen the video, but what are your thoughts? I just asked the question. Yeah. Why was Omega not chipped?
Well, we don't know yet if she was a personal project, like she was personally developed to assist in the medical bay, if she was her mother-like figure, like did she personally grow her and raise her, and in that case she's already different. She's already so different from everything else. It doesn't really, it makes sense to me. I mean, do they, like she age? Do we know if she ages She's accelerated?
We don't know. There's a split in the fandom of folks who believe one way or the other. I personally believe she is not age enhanced. And the reasons I believe that is because I believe they're setting her up to use in other series.
Yeah.
And they want her to be around for a long time. They can use her longer if she's not aging.
Yeah. We just got to think about the purpose of the chips, right? Like the contingencies and all the plans in place. And when they were developing Omega, like specifically separately on the side, was there a need for these contingency? You know, was she ever going to be in armor? Was she ever going to hold a gun? You know, would it even be worth it?
Right. And there's, yeah, I think she's not an age enhanced. There's a couple other reasons I'll give that I think she's not age enhanced. One is she is really well educated about clones, about the history of clones, the different runs, right? You're a phase 1, you're a phase 2, like she can pick that. She knows about the inhibitor chips. She's informed on a lot of information on the medical side. Again, it makes sense because of her mom, her mother figure, and she worked as a medical aide in that area. So for her to learn so much over longer periods of time is easier to figure. If it was half, and let's figure she's maybe as old as 14. So if she's between 10 and 14, she's between 5 and 7 if she's age enhanced.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first, 2 years until she's an age enhanced, right? Till you're like 4, you wouldn't really be learning too much about medical stuff and clones. If she's not age enhanced, then she's got more time to learn that stuff. And so that's another evidence I give that she's not age enhanced. And you ask a good question. What were the inhibitor chips for? What are they?
Yeah. Or are you asking me, or is that a rhetorical?
Well, I think you asked the question. I'm just repeating it, right?
Yeah. Well, all the different contingencies and if you needed to take control of the clones for whatever reason, you needed to override them. That's that's my understanding of the chip. So,
yeah, mine too. And the other part of it is just to think about. They mentioned there were 5 experimental clones, right? So with 5 experimental clones, the other 4 are the Bad Batch, and that's how they figured out she's one of us, right? So if she's one of the 5, the other 4 do have inhibitor chips. She's the only one who isn't. The other 4, and I think Mark put it in there, she's not imp property, right? She's not Imperial property. She's Kamino property. That she's a one-off. I don't think the Empire knows about her. I think they did it for their own secretive mission purposes. They've got this, Kaminoans are notoriously secretive.
Yes.
And I think that they are that she's off the books. So they didn't put the chip in her because she's not imp property. They made her female so she wouldn't look just like all the other imps, and they'd be like, wait, she's one of our clones. They could say, no, she's our, she belongs to us. Plus, I think they've kept her hidden. So I'm all for her not being age enhanced. And the reason she's not chipped is because she's not imp property, and she's a part of a secret project that they're working on. Now, Star Wars Meg raised a point, and I think Star Wars Theory did as well. Might she have a different chip? Some other kind of restrictor that's, Order 67 or 88 or whatever, might she have a different chip?
Well, then we think about Boba, who was probably roughly the same. Wait, how old would Boba have been at that time? He would have probably been about the same age. Yeah,
they're about the same age. If she's age enhanced, then she's half Boba's age, but his age.
Yeah, I think they're going to play into that a little bit. They're going to get Boba in the mix somehow. Maybe they'll explain some of this, but maybe they were raised the same time. Maybe they're good friends. If Boba if she has a secret chip, does Boba have a secret chip? You know, did she know that Jango was getting a personally grown son grown, and she's like, hey, I want in on that. I want my own.
Right. Yeah. Right. So and Mark's raising some good points too, right? She's standing right beside the Kaminoans, and they're talking about Tarkin. She's overhearing major war secrets. She's in the know because she's family, and a lot of people have speculated. Again, this is what's fun about being a fan. Some people, I like to say, and I forgot to say it before, speculate responsibly, my friends. Speculate responsibly. You can come up with your weird, outlandish, really crazy ideas. That's great, but just do it responsibly. And so I've heard all kinds of stuff about that medallion maybe being a secret tracker, and all kinds of stuff. But I don't think so. I think it was a family crest. You saw her mom kind of wore that same sort of family crest, Nalase, right? She had that same headband piece on. I think she's wearing the same family colors. She's part of the family, part of that Kaminoan, if you wanted to say it, she's a Kaminoan princess, right? Of royalty. I compared it to Moses being part of the Pharaoh's family in like Old Testament Bible stuff, right? Yeah. He was raised in Pharaoh's household with, future Pharaoh, and she was raised in the Kaminoan household. I don't think there's anything special to that medallion other than what it represented, and it gave her access to things because she's part of that family. People would see her and say, let her through. I don't think she's chipped. I don't think she has an alternate chip. And the reason is because she's their special project. She was being raised as family, as part of their thing. And it raises the next question. And Meg is still on the bandwagon that perhaps Omega is a Palpatine project or clone or host. What do you make of the Palpatine connection?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I have a super solid opinion about that yet. Like, to me, it feels like it's possible, but why? I don't know. Like, if you have a lot of evidence, I'd love to hear it. But me personally, it seems a little bit like a reach, but it's a fun theory.
Again, that's why I say speculate responsibly. Like, you can have all these theories. That's a lot of fun, but don't get so attached to it. You're going to get butthurt if it doesn't happen. Right. So, no, I don't think she is. I don't think there's enough evidence. In fact, I think that when you start working on the logic, that it falls apart really quickly. For it to be a Palpatine host kind of project, and I just don't think that's the case. Now the other part is she force sensitive. That's still an outstanding question. People are wondering.
I think we probably would have known by now.
Yeah.
I mean, in the beginning, when she put her hand on Crosshair and seemed like she was kind of had some prediction thing going on, but maybe it just turned out that she has good social skills. I think like she's a special project, like you mentioned, right? And that already sets her aside enough, I feel like, for the show. Like, the first ever female clone, she's running with the Bad Batch. There's already a lot going on there. And the second thing is that if she's force sensitive, is she the first ever grown force sensitive? Okay, like, of all the clones that were made, none of them were force sensitive that we know of.
Right.
And so for her to just make her, especially on the side, for her to be force sensitive would be like, they must know how to spike the midichlorians or something. It just seems like it's too much.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think she is. I think, and I know that Sheev the Wise, he's in the same boat with me. I think her ability is enhanced perception. And I think that was further strengthened in this last episode when she could tell that Rex was a phase 1. And he goes, well, that's very perceptive. How did you figure that out? And she says, well, by the lines on your face. Like, well, who sees the lines on somebody's face and says, I can tell exactly, what batch you came from?
That's a good point.
So I'm still on the boat of her ability being enhanced perception. We know that Hunter is a bit that way as well, because he can track things really, really well. And that comes from heightened sensory perception. But I think hers is specific to perception. She's very perceptive, knowing that Sid was Sid before anybody knew it was Sid, knowing what Crosshair was thinking, being able to pick out Rex. Then I think she figured that out that way. So
yeah, her perception ability could just come off like on the surface like a Force ability. They could just look really similar.
Yeah,
which makes sense. We're just connecting those dots, right? But yeah, exactly. I think perception's that's a good guess.
Very good. And Mark's raised a couple questions. What if Fennec captures Omega and the Bad Batch then have to chase and go back to Camino to rescue? I think that's likely to happen, Mark.
I agree.
I think that's Mark. Roll your D20 perception check. Omega +5. Mark plays too much D&D, so that's good. Yeah, definitely heightened perception. And Mike Porter, thank you so much. I've seen you in the chat the whole time. I appreciate you being here. That's great. Santa Headroom. See, he knows who Max Headroom is.
I did a quick Google search and then I knew. Your audio's getting a little warbled, I'll tell you.
Okay. All right. We'll have to watch something. Yeah, that's what Matt's saying as well. So those for Kushel already seen his predictions. Well, I am having some technical issues. We made it through all of the topics I wanted to cover today. So I want to just touch base on a couple of things here to close out. We have been doing weekly Bad Batch predictions. Episode 8 predictions are out now. The link is in the chat way up at the top here or in the description. It's also in Discord, but I know not everybody has Discord. And yeah, the audio is now going wonky. Oh no. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and close it. Thank you so much for joining me today, though. I really appreciate it. I need that video game background. And I appreciate you being our resident expert.
Anytime you want to talk anything video games, I'm happy to do it. I'm always talking to myself on my channel, so I'm happy to talk to anyone.
Well, and I thank you for having me on yours. I thank you for coming on mine. We'll have you back again for sure. As more video game releases come, as we get any video game news, we will be reaching out to you. Thanks for joining us early. And folks, I put a link to Star Wars Real Talk in the description here. If you've not already joined, subscribe to his YouTube, do so. You know what? I was subscribed. I went to your YouTube to get the link and I was unsubscribed. So I subscribed again. So, feel free to resubscribe if you've subscribed before.
Hopefully it counts as 2.
It's same applies for my channel. If you guys would kindly subscribe to my channel, share this out, help us grow. We're wishing towards the 4,000 hours of watch time needed to be monetized. And I'm just a few hundred hours short. So we're over 3,100 hours. We've got about 800 to go. Any help you guys could give would be much appreciated. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut it. Now, I hope you all have a wonderful day. And until next time, my friends, may the Force be with you. Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
See you guys.